that's what tends to, some of those things that happen with communication. People forget that you have to talk with everybody. Um, and walking the floor and getting to know your team is a good part of helping them become resilient, become aware of knowledge, and you're building a support system between, leadership and employees, and a level of trust, right? I remember working at a project for a financial institution in downtown Toronto. I was there for a year and a half. The vice president sat two desks away, actually in an office. There was a hallway, a desk, and then me. And not once did he ever introduce himself to us. And yet we were all part of his team. He only talked with people on his level and up, maybe a director or something. We were his team. And he didn't even want to talk to us. So when there was a problem, we didn't have anyone to go to, and he didn't have anyone to go to. He would go to somebody else on his level. What happened? There was no trust, no communication between the two. So when there were incidents, nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew who to go to. For a year and a half, it went on like that. I was not happy. Wasn't a happy time. When you can be that close to a vice president and then never even notice you. So another thing I think might change, I already mentioned the BIA, is project management. For years and years, I've been talking about project management and how it should be a bigger component or learning or training course or something in business continuity management. I've worked in project management for many years, and business continuity for many years. And I purposely actually went to work in project management for a little while to get a better handle on project management, because in one of the big issues with business continuity management is getting executive buy-in or stakeholders, communication with these people. Risk management, and I don't mean risk as in fires, floods, potential of that. I mean, if this happens, then this will occur. When you're working in projects, and when they occur, a risk is realized to an issue. And how do you manage issues? Coming up, assigning the issue to somebody, working with them, coming up with a plan, to resolve it with dates, what decisions need to be made, and then a change record, if it comes to that. Risk management, what is our mitigation plan? What do we need to do to make sure that we don't encounter this problem? Are we accepting it? Okay, fine, accept it, log it, move on. What kind of information do we give to senior executive? On what level? How do we communicate it? And change management. Change is one of the, as the old saying goes, change is the only constant. Everything continues to change and will continue to change no matter what we do. And I wanted to learn how to record that and do that better, so that I could use that in business continuity management, because in BCM, we're supposed to be talking with executives, and when we do our BIAs or developing strategies, we're talking with directors and VPs, and others. How do we communicate with them? What information are they expecting? And project management gives you those skills. And I have seen, unfortunately, junior or new people into the industry not having that understanding of how to communicate with these people, what they expect, what risk management is in a project versus risk management, to an organization, fires, floods, and in that respect. How to manage change effectively, and I don't just mean organizational change, but changing, systems, if you're going to upgrade this or replace this application, okay, then understanding that these documents and these procedures and this communication needs to occur before you can make this change, because, if you make this change, none of this is going to be updated, including disaster recovery plans, potentially workarounds for business continuity plans, Operational manuals will change, and understanding all those downstream impacts of what a change can impact. So I think project management should become part, and I'm willing to work with people to come up with a way of uh, how to really incorporate that. I know standards and guidelines are out there saying thou should have, but there isn't really, to me, effective way of following that. What does that mean? Update a BCP plan. Well, update a BCP plan when there's a change. What does that mean? How do I know there's a change? How are you notified? About it. How does it identify what this change is going to do? What's the impact? Does it mean that I can't use this plan anymore? Am I adding to the plan? Does it need to change at all? Like, oh, you're just replacing like for like, and everything else stays the same. Good, no change is made. But at least if it changes, and there becomes different expectations. And it can really be a big problem. And managing expectations of users, if they are going to an alternate site or have to work from home. There was an incident I had. We were planning a test, and it was a big test, and we had to keep all the production running. And the way the backup site was built is it was an automatic failover, but we had to test that this stuff worked, but we could not turn off anything in production. And I'm sure you're aware, two IP addresses going to the same place, and you end up with all kinds of, issues, right? So we had to isolate, one incident and have one instance and have users come in and say, okay, can you do what you do on this system that you do on the live system? And we had people who came in and said, oh, well, you need to put all these shortcuts on our laptops. Well, the company had a few thousand people. We all had different shortcuts on our desktops because they're all tailored to ourselves. And they wanted, well, for the test, we need you to do that. And we went, no, because that's not something you do, on a daily basis. So we're not doing that unless you've got a way to manage those shortcuts for every single person in the company, not just your users, for the test, but on a daily basis. It's not something we do. So we're not going to plan for something like that. That makes no sense. And that came down to managing all the expectations, through project management, doing a proper analysis, and understanding, and with project management, you may be familiar with the agile, where things can be delivered hopefully faster. I know places have tried it with large, really big initiatives, and that doesn't necessarily work on big initiatives. Smaller ones tends to work out pretty good. It's a little more challenging with bigger ones. But the agile approach, I tend to think of the adaptive business continuity approach, where we change things a little bit more and become a little bit more agile and show a little bit more value with business continuity management, because that's one of the challenges we've always had, is being able to show our value. It's easy to say, business continuity is important. And I don't think there is an executive out there who would say that, disaster recovery, business continuity, crisis management, et cetera, aren't important. But where's the value? What's the value of it? How do you get their support? Where's the I can prove, type thing, and it's not a big thick binder, either. Oh, here's our value. Oh, you create binders, so, so I think, with COVID, the way it came on and the way it progressed, in different stages, from people, it spread around the globe, and it started off, affecting people, and then it was supply chains, and then it became travel industries, and then it's, organizations. It started to really become all over the place. So I think an agile approach to business continuity management is in order. I know there have been some changes being released by BCI and DRI, in that respect. But I think there's more coming, because I don't think COVID-19, at least the pandemic on this scale, was expected. SARS, H1N1, Ebola, they didn't get to the scale that COVID-19 is in. So I think there might be some rethinking of the approach, in the coming years as well. I already mentioned changes with security and those groups, and expanding roles and skills and knowledge. We can't know it all, and that comes down to the relationships that need to happen. And I think with the agile approach that I mentioned a few minutes ago, I think what should happen is that we start looking at different approaches for small, medium, and large corporations. Not what works for a small organization isn't going to work for a large one. What works for a large one is simply overkill for a small, and they're never going to be able to adapt a really large framework for a multi-conglomerate, or nationwide company when they've just got one facility. It's just not going to work. So I think there's might be a change in approach, like agile, so that they can get the same results that large organizations expect as well, not necessarily doing everything the same way. And a small organization can't wait a year for a BIA to be done, when a large organization might. They want something done quicker, show some value, and can move them forward faster than an organization who might have a higher tolerance level to wait a year. Not everyone can afford high price consultants and things like that. So we have to have a change. Something that's adaptable and scalable to different size corporations. Lessons learned, I touched on that earlier on today. I'm a really big proponent and supporter of proper lessons learned. It really drives me crazy when people don't leverage that one. There is a good book on lessons learned. Nick Milton. I want to get his name right because it's almost the same name as somebody that's on commercials. Nick Milton, the Lessons Learned Handbook. There's a really good book by Nick on how to do lessons learned and what you really want to be able to capture from them, and what it should give you at the end. So I take a look at that. There's some really good information in that one. And I'm going to take a quick break and a drink of water again. If you like that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.